Alrighty.
Cool.
Welcome to the Skeptic Monkey Podcast. We're here with Dr. David Ackerman,
Hello.
chiropractic extraordinaire. Alright.
Wow.
So,
Thank you.
Trust me, he's an extraordinary chiropractor. He's helped me come back from too many injuries at this point. Right? A lot of ignorance on my part. A lot of not doing exactly what I should have been doing, rehabbing properly, and causing myself to injure myself over and over again. I've gotten to know you over the past few years. How long have we?
Probably about 2 years.
Okay. I first came to you when I had some knee pain. And that was actually a result of my spine being injured.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, basically, first thing, if you wanted to touch on, how does something like knee pain connect to my spinal issue?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If that makes
Absolutely.
any sense.
Well, the body is the machine. So the knee is one of the moving parts of this amazing machine that makes up our body. So anytime there's an imbalance somewhere along the spine or in the feet, it can cause knee problems down the road, especially if you're an athlete like yourself.
Right.
When you're running, when you're lifting heavy, any imbalances, any misalignments in the body are going to come to the surface. And that's what, in your case, your knee was an actual effect of other misalignments elsewhere in your body.
Okay. So now, is it mainly the spine that you focus on as far as like healing the body? Is that where most of the problems come from? Would that be accurate, or is that?
Well, definitely as a chiropractor, that's where I do focus my attention.
Right.
The nervous system is located inside of the spine, and that's where a lot of the signals come from. They come from the brain, obviously, go through the spinal cord, and they are then delivered to all the different parts of the body. So as a chiropractor, I'm checking the spine to make sure that there's nothing getting in the way of the body's ability to heal itself.
Right.
Also, all the muscles attach onto the spine itself. Your axial skeleton is what supports the weight of the body and what holds the body upright. So if your spine itself is not in alignment, it can affect anything that attaches into it.
Right. So anything you could just not feel well one day, and that could be something, maybe you lifted something improperly the day before or something.
Absolutely.
Right. It could cause you to not feel well.
Well, your body is constantly communicating with you. So
Right.
when you're not feeling well, it's usually your body's way of saying that something is not right. So that's where, as a chiropractor, I'll check the spine to see if I can find anything that is not in the right position that might be contributing to why you're feeling unwell.
Okay. So, I had some notes here, just some things that I wanted to ask you about. So there's, I know there's a bunch of people with this misconception of chiropractors.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people that have been hurt by chiropractors, and they just kind of sworn them off completely. Where do you think that comes from? What do you think these other chiropractors aren't doing that I've been with you for, like you said, 2 years, and I haven't had a problem? I felt better every single time I've come here. What is it that these other chiropractors are getting wrong?
Well, I think it's a combination of the chiropractor might not be doing certain things, and then I think it's also the person who is going to the chiropractor might have false expectations.
Okay.
A lot of times people, they neglect their bodies, they don't eat properly, they don't exercise properly or at all, and then they get to a point where they're so broken down that they start taking all these different medications trying to regain their health, which puts them further in a hole that they can't get out of themselves. So by the time they get to the chiropractor, they have such a high expectation that this chiropractor is magically going to fix them.
Right.
And they basically take their bodies and they go, here, I'm going to give you 1 or maybe 2 attempts to try to fix this.
Right.
So then the chiropractor might get a little overzealous, trying to do too much too soon, might not explain to the person properly what their actual injury is and what the appropriate treatment is going to entail for them to truly get better. And I think there's a major miscommunication between people and chiropractors very often. So when people come to myself, I spend the most time doing my examination and my first visit with that person. I really need to dive deep into what their problem is, what caused it, and then also getting realistic as far as what they're looking to get out of their treatment and how long they think it's going to take. Because if they think that I'm going to fix them in 1 or 2 adjustments, and I'm suspecting it's going to take 1 or 2 years of treatment, then we have to have that discussion in the beginning before I even start my care.
Absolutely. Before I even started with you, I had a an idea of, okay, I'm going to see this guy and he's going to fix me up. I'll be back in the gym, 1, 2, 3, no problem. And yeah, definitely getting in here and having to do the rehab, you see it's a process. It really is a much longer process than a lot of people think. Now, have you heard, or have you ever gotten the question that, are chiropractors real doctors? Have you ever gotten that question before?
I've gotten similar questions.
Okay.
And to my best answer to that would be, it depends on what your definition of a real doctor is.
Right. I've seen that question floating around the internet a lot, and I've even, the one person that I've known that was hurt by a chiropractor previously, he kind of had that in his head. I don't know if that was a personal thing, because he felt like it was the chiropractor's fault. So anything was just kind of against chiropractors. But basically, yeah. What kind of education, I guess, did you have to go with? Like, what kind of courses did you have to take, or what was the process of becoming a chiropractor?
Sure. Becoming a chiropractor is just like any other profession. Whether you're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you have to have your 4-year degree, your bachelor's of science. So I went to university and I got all of my sciences. Did the physics and the chemistry and the calculus and all of those fun, sciences with the 4-hour labs attached to them. And you need the anatomy, the physiology, and of course you need to do well in those classes as well. You need to have a certain grade point average to get accepted into chiropractic school. And then once you get into chiropractic school, it's the same amount of hours that medical doctors are going to medical school for. So we have the same amount of contact hours, class time, that we're sitting in a chair that medical doctors are sitting in their chairs. The difference is we're learning more about how to help the body holistically through chiropractic care, through nutrition, through exercise, and medical doctors are learning about medicine. They're learning about disease, how to give medicine for certain diseases, and basically, they're just focusing on what they do. And I think it's very important that we have 2 careers that focus separately on each, because medicine saves thousands of lives every day, and chiropractic also. But it's a different focus. If I was focusing on both, there's no way I'd be able to be as alert and attentive to my patients as I am, because I don't have to focus as much on the medicine part. I focus more on the chiropractic part.
So I mean, in my opinion, I would say it's different like going to a dentist for your teeth, right, or a podiatrist for your feet, right? There's different classifications of doctors, right?
Absolutely.
So this is just a different part of the body that you want to focus attention on.
It's a great point. So chiropractors would be for your spine.
Right.
And that's where, just like people know you have to go to a dentist to get your teeth checked to prevent them from getting cavities and from ultimately, potentially falling out or having other problems, it should be common knowledge at this point that you should go to a chiropractor to get your spine checked to prevent problems from developing and ultimately your spine falling apart.
Absolutely. I mean, I hear almost everyone I know has back pain. That's the most common thing you hear, even at the gym. Back pain, that's number one. Okay, let's see what else I had here.
Yeah, while you're looking, 80% of people will have a severe debilitating course of back pain at one point in their lives. So that's unfortunate, but that's just a true statistic. Right,
and a lot of that's from sitting down constantly.
Sure, being unaware of the importance of your spine, of seeing a chiropractor as a preventative measure, maybe inappropriate exercise methods, or just not exercising at all.
Okay. What are the age ranges of your clients usually?
Well, my clients pretty much range from the age of maybe 3 or 4 years old to 90 years old.
Okay, so you cover pretty much the whole spectrum.
Absolutely.
Okay, that I've heard a lot of people don't like to bring children in, especially with the adjustments that I get adjusted, or I used to get adjusted quite frequently, and it's kind of it's rigorous, I guess. Is that the word I'm looking for? It's tough.
There's a physical component.
Right.
Absolutely, and that's where when I'm adjusting yourself, you're a big guy, you work out. I have to put some force into your adjustments as opposed to a 3 or 4 year old where they're still developing spine and nervous system. They're obviously a lot smaller and a lot more fragile. So for them, the adjustments are a lot gentler, And you can even say more specific, because I'm really just putting my emphasis on one specific vertebrae. And if you think about the average 3 or 4 year old, what they put themselves through, when they fight each other, when they fall out of the tree or down the stairs, they're pretty resilient as it is. So then if you compare what an actual chiropractic adjustment is for a young child, it's very safe, it's very gentle.
Okay, that's a good way to put it. I'm sure a lot of people don't think about, the things that babies put themselves through.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's I've never even thought about it like that. That's a good way to think about it. Okay. So another thing I wanted to ask you about. Okay. So I would, kind of a silly question. How do you know you need to go to a chiropractor? Like, what would be, I'm sure there's so many different signs that you can, think of, but what's like something that a lot of people have come in here for, saying, hey, this is my issue, can you help me?
Absolutely. Well, I as a chiropractor, I would hope that everyone would just know, if they've never been, or if you go on a preventative maintenance type basis, you go in once a month, get your spine checked, that would be ideal. But for the person, like you're saying, who is not thinking about chiropractic, maybe has never even known what chiropractic do until watching this podcast, for them, your typical symptoms would be your body's way of communicating. So you're obviously going to be having headaches, you're going to be having stiffness in your spine, stiffness in your neck and your back. It can ultimately lead to pain, of course, muscle spasms. A lot of the times muscle spasms are indicators that the underlying nerves are being irritated. You can have weakness, numbness into your arms, into your legs. These are all indicators that there's irritation and pressure on the nerves coming from your spine.
Okay, that sounds, I know that sounds like a lot of stuff that you could go to a regular doctor for. Right. And a lot of people, at least for myself, I'm not a big fan of taking medication, prescription medication especially. I feel like, for sicknesses and stuff like that, it helps. But for pain and what's going on with, if I have knee pain or something like that, the knee pain comes back immediately after I'm done with the medication. So it's not really fixing the problem, right? That would be...
It's a great point, and that's where it's unfortunate, but I would say that for all the symptoms that I just described, but subscribe to his YouTube channel.
Thank you. Shout out.
Right? For all the symptoms that we're talking about, people make that connection to go to their medical doctor, and that's where, yes, most likely they get a prescription for a painkiller or a muscle relaxer or an anti-inflammatory. And the problem is, if you have a physical misalignment, right? So if this is your spine, and if they're supposed to be aligned one on top of another, if the bones physically shift out of place, which is putting pressure on the nerve and causing all these symptoms, how is medicine going to move that bone back into place?
True.
Right? So it's kind of like if you were walking down the street and you had, sandals on, and you got a pebble in your sandal and it hurt, and you were walking and it's very painful. The obvious thing to do would be to stop and take that pebble out of your shoe. The analogy that I'm making is, most people, when they get that pain, they get that symptom, instead of taking the pebble out of their shoe, they're taking painkillers so that the pain goes away, so they can keep walking with that pebble in their shoe, and that's ultimately going to cause other problems down the road.
Okay. And you had mentioned holistic medicine or treatments, right? Could you kind of describe what holistic treatments are all about?
Well, holistic, in the sense of the word, means holistic, meaning the whole body, encompassing everything. Obviously, a whole body approach, whether you're talking about from head down to your toes, or you're talking about lifestyle as well, whether it's your food, your mental consciousness, your exercise regimen, your sleeping regimen. So a holistic approach is really talking to the individual and taking all the different factors into account when coming up with what the cause of their problem is and what the solution to their problem is as well.
Okay. Have you ever heard about cortisol treatments? Cortisol treatments for like arthritis and stuff like that?
Well, cortisol I'm very familiar with. It's a stress hormone that's released in the body. So I would imagine cortisol treatments would be trying to approach a way of reducing systemic levels of cortisol in the body.
Okay.
Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, I think so. It's like as far as I know, it's pretty much. I've heard that they inject it into areas of like where you have arthritis, or if you have some kind of injury in your knees or something like that. They inject it into the site of the pain, and then it kind of makes it feel better. I'm not sure exactly how it works. I was wondering if you kind of had an idea of that.
Well, to be honest, I don't.
Okay.
But I can definitely speak on cortisol itself, being an extreme stress hormone, which is a perfect example of how psychological stress can cause physical conditions in the body. So, for example, if you're stressed, your body releases cortisol, which is a stress hormone. And cortisol, not only does it cause increase in your weight, body weight, it also will cause inflammation in the body and will break down the joints. So it can lead to arthritis, it can lead to muscle tension, and it can even affect the spine. As a chiropractor, I see stress being one of the biggest contributing factors to why people don't respond to their treatment as well as they should, because every time I put their bone back into place, the stress and the cortisol causes tension in the body that will physically pull them back out of alignment.
Okay, so that's a tip right there, is you got to make sure you're happy if
you
want to be healthy.
Absolutely.
Right? So, okay. That's pretty good. Let's see. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you about was you used to be a personal trainer?
Still am.
Oh, you still are? Okay, so you're also a personal trainer. All right, so you're helping people feel better all around.
Well, I'm still certified.
Okay.
So I still keep current in my continuing education, and my licenses are still present, and I'm still a certified personal trainer. But I don't have any active ongoing clients that I'm training currently. But yes, I do have a huge passion for personal training. I think it's such a huge potential avenue of really reaching and connecting with people and improving their quality of life.
And I think you had mentioned once that you had tried out competing in
a little bit. I did one show in it was actually bodybuilding at the time. It was before physique even existed, so it was more of just a natural bodybuilding competition.
Okay. Now the natural is what I wanted to ask you about. Now natural, a lot of people have a different approach to what natural means. You are a person that doesn't use any supplements really, besides the whey proteins and stuff like that. That's correct?
Definitely, yeah. I try to stay as natural as possible. I'd rather gravitate towards real food than actual supplements.
Right. Now, something like pre-workout, that was a big thing that I used to use when I was working, double shifts, overnights, stuff like that. I'm really tired, want to get that workout in, need something extra. How safe are these pre-workouts and stuff like that that are on the shelves nowadays?
Wow.
In your opinion?
Not safe at all.
Okay.
It's been numerous occasions where they've removed certain pre-workouts, whether it was Jack 3D or who knows what the next Jack 3D is going to be. But
Absolutely.
They're always finding these stimulants that are actually causing people to have heart attacks or even strokes or just having injuries. I myself have had injuries in the past because I wasn't always a quote unquote natural, meaning that I would take pre-workouts, to try to push my body past its normal limitation. And that's when I was noticing that I was getting hurt, because when you're tired, when your body needs rest, that's what you want to do. You want to rest. And then when you're energized, when you have strength, that's when you want to exercise. Okay. So when you're taking something artificial to force you into that state of working out, you're going to be able to push your body past where it physically wants to go, and that's how you can get hurt.
Okay. Now, being that you said it was only one show, but did you kind of get a sense of the other athletes around there? Like, did you get to talking to any of them at all about like the supplements that they take and what, how they get to where they're at? Because I know there's a lot of young kids like myself that when they started, you want to get as big as you can, as quick as you can, so you start doing pre-workout, creatine. You're taking things like your BCAAs, which are good, and your whey protein, which are good. But, you look for any, extra testosterone. I'm talking about 19-year-old kids taking extra testosterone.
Exactly.
Did you kind of get a sense of what these other guys were taking, how natural they were?
Yes, definitely. Like you said, when you're just starting to work out between maybe, 16 and 21, let's say, that's usually when people are trying to get as big as possible. Right. And that's around the time that I did some bodybuilding. I think I was in my junior year of college, so I was probably about 19 years old. And people who did these shows were relatively natural. They were eating their rice cakes with the peanut butter and jelly, and they were really trying to play chemistry with their body to get more sugar into the muscles and to try to get that hypertrophy, and they were trying to sodium load and then sodium deplete, basically, to get all the water out of their body. It's kind of like you're playing chemistry with your body, which is very unhealthy. And the one thing that I can say is that from my one experience doing the show, not only was it the unhealthiest experience of my life, I was depleted. I looked completely different than I really should have, and even on stage I did not feel good at all. The whole idea is that the person who ended up winning the show had more experience. He had more muscle definition, maturity. It was kind of like he's done more exercises, and he had a better workout routine that over time developed the muscle, as opposed to me trying to accomplish something that was artificial.
Right. Okay, so you can see the difference, right? Maybe not to the average person that doesn't really follow bodybuilding or weightlifting, but you can tell when someone is on these creatine and all these things compared to just someone that's completely natural.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's what the judges are looking for.
Right.
They're looking for a true natural physique. So you can have someone who's bigger than you who can win, which in my head was hard to comprehend, because you would think a bodybuilding competition is about the biggest person out there, when really it's more about the person who's more symmetrical, who's more proportionate, who has better muscle maturity, better muscle definition, and also the body that looks more like an anatomical reference. Someone who looks more like they're straight out of an anatomy book versus out of a comic book. You want something that looks natural and something that you can attain healthily.
And that's where the professional bodybuilders, that are huge, overblown characters,
right?
Or character-like people, those guys are. You can only imagine what kinds of steroids, the amount.
Oh my goodness.
That they have to take to get to that level.
Right.
Right.
Scary.
Yeah. Now, getting back to kind of the healing process and getting people better, I had mentioned to you something about transhumanism. Right?
Sure.
Which I don't know if you had gotten a chance to.
I did look up a little bit. I was very interested in just learning more about it. I never knew anything about it until you mentioned that I look it up.
It's still a fairly new topic, so even I myself, it's like you got to really dive into the research, read the books and stuff. Basically, there's this guy Zoltan Isvan, who's the leader of the transhumanist political party, and he was talking about running for 2016, but I don't think that's going to be too. He doesn't have too much of a backing yet.
Right.
Not enough people, hardly anyone really knows about transhumanism. And what transhumanism is basically is the idea of trying to get people to live longer, be healthier longer, even transcend humanism, transcend your physical body. How do you feel about something like that possibly over the next 50 years, 100 years, people's body parts are not going to be, natural body parts. They're going to be, they could be, artificial limbs. They're coming really far with that technology nowadays.
I think it's great, as far as the technology for people who might be amputees, or have lost a limb for whatever reason, that they can actually have the technology now to give an artificial arm that's programmed within sync to their nervous system, where they can actually have some control over it. I think that's amazing, and that's the best thing that I've heard ever for that field and that development. And just like anything, where this type of technology can be used for good, or it can be used for not so good. And the same thing with medicine. Medicine can be used to save lives and to help save people who desperately need it, and then it can be used as a crutch, enabling people to do things that they really shouldn't be doing. For example, eating like garbage, going out every weekend, drinking, doing drugs, and then getting sick, of course. But then you take this antibiotic and it kills the bug, and all of a sudden you're miraculously better, so that you can get back on your horse and do it all over again. So that's where transhumanism could be the best thing ever if used properly, or it could be something that enables people to maybe abuse their bodies even further, and that's that's something that we'll have to see in time.
Yeah, I know they've been working on some things like exosuits, which are like, it's something you just wear. It's like a big suit, and you can lift up to 10 times your body weight or something like that. That's like you were saying, it could be used for good or bad.
Absolutely.
You know, you give that to the military, you never know what could happen.
Mm.
You know, if you're using it to move freight, I don't know what you could possibly use it for. You know,
Yeah, well, that would be, you know, great for people's lower backs. You know, if you're
right.
if you're moving furniture, if you have to move your house one day and
Absolutely.
you know you need to pick up furniture and you have an exosuit to do it, that would be ideal. But like you're saying, yeah, if it gets into the wrong hands, it could be something that would be very dangerous.
Right.
But so I think technology is all good as far as you know, always important that we're progressing and learning new things, and I think that as long as it's in the right hands and done
Right.
for the right reasons, it'll be a good thing.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, and I think that's a big thing too. You know, I think the reason he started that political party is because he feels like there's not enough of a focus on human health and you know, the healthcare system, I guess. Would you say that's accurate? You know, that's an accurate assumption that not enough people are really thinking about their health, and they're kind of just letting it pass by. Think, oh, we're gonna die eventually, you know, something like that. You know.
Sure, I think it's definitely something where me personally, I've been seeing a shift.
Right.
Thank goodness that people are starting to become more aware of their own health and taking it into their own hands. I've definitely seen that the trend is people are starting to realize that medicine is not the answer for everything, and that they need to be more proactive, they need to be healthier and exercise more, and the food, of course, eating better foods. But then there's always going to be those people who abuse their bodies and that they're not really appreciative of what we've been given. I mean, the body is amazing, and it's definitely something that if you give it what it needs, it'll reward you tenfold. So yes, I think it's important that we're aware, we're grateful, we're conscious of what we have.
Now, you had said that, like you said, the body's a great thing. We can do amazing things. Do you think there's any flaws with the way, you know, we're made up? Like, do you think there are things that, you know, just kind of a broad question here, like, you know,
Good question.
do you think there's anything that we could improve on that, you know, maybe, like I said, 50, 100 years, maybe something we don't even have to worry about, this lower back problem anymore? You know?
Well, I think the first thing that pops into my mind would be the ants that we are programmed with. So ants are automatic negative thoughts.
Okay.
Right? And that's something that from a survival standpoint, we have been programmed to always think the worst thing is going to happen. You know, that tree is going to fall on us. You know, that person's going to attack me. I'm not going to succeed at whatever I try, because it's an automatic negative thought. It's a protective mechanism for survival. Right. And I think that that's something that no matter how far we evolve, we're always going to have those ants, those automatic negative thoughts that we're going to have to be combating with in our head. And I think that's the biggest thing, that if we can get past that, if we can at least be more aware of it, so that we can then address it as a culture, then we can maybe overcome it. But right now, so many people have these automatic negative thoughts, and they project them onto other people because they're not even aware of the fact that this is just ingrained in them. And then other people start to believe this, and now all of a sudden we've come to a point where we're all negative, and we're all thinking the worst is always going to happen, as opposed to, you know, thinking about how we can get over things and work together.
That's sort of that, like, mob mentality thing, you know. It's
Sure.
like if you're surrounding yourself with people that are just negative and they don't want to, you know, be active and live a healthy lifestyle, you're more likely just going to end up the same way. You need to separate yourselves.
Absolutely.
You know, so basically that's the key right here. If you want to be healthy, you got to chase it.
You got to chase it, and you know, we can bring it full circle, like you were saying. You know, having back problems, well, it all starts up top in your head. You know, if you want to correct your situation, you have to make that decision in your head, and then you have to reinforce it daily. You know, I'm going to do things proactively. I'm going to see the right doctor, the chiropractor who's going to give me the right advice. I'm going to do what he tells me. Absolutely. And eventually you'll be able to overcome anything, as long as you mentally are reminding yourself day after day. You know, it has to be automatic. Every time that you think about not doing it, you have to retrain your mind to tell you to do it.
That's why they call it a battle. You know, it's something you have to fight with yourself to say, you know, I'm not going to be lazy today. I'm gonna get up and do it
every day. That's the problem. You get over certain battles. You know, one day you wake up the next morning and you have the same automatic negative thoughts. You know,
Absolutely.
So it's almost like you have to fight the same battle every day. But then eventually you build up a muscle and you start getting stronger at it, and that's the goal.
Right. All right, Dave. Well, I know you're kind of strapped for time today. Is there now? I know you have your active team, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's it? What do you call it?
The active team.
The active
Absolutely.
team, right? Okay.
Yes. So my mission, part of my mission in life, is to bridge the gap between chiropractic and exercise. You know, I want to make it known that in order to be healthy in life, you need to be healthy and active, and also to see a chiropractor on a regular basis to keep your spine healthy as well. So the active team is just that. It's a group of my patients that gets together every month. We go out and I organize different activities for us to do. So whether it's a yoga class or Pilates or a 5K run, something to get them out there to become more active, and also to raise awareness of health and chiropractic in the community.
That's a good thing right there you're doing, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome.
So we have a little hashtag, hashtag the active team.
Okay.
And we're starting a website soon, which is activeteamevents.com.
Okay.
A little plug for us.
Active Team Events. Okay.
Yep. So you can hopefully get that out to your fans. They can check us out and even join the team if they'd like.
Check that out. And where can people find you if they want to look up, chiropractor? If you're in the Long Island area, Comac
Absolutely.
area?
If you're in the Long Island, Comac area, my website is comacchiropractor.com.
Comac Chiropractor. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
All right, Dave. Listen, I appreciate your time. Seriously, you helped me come back from injuries, man. I always wanted to be an athlete my entire life, and when I started seeing these injuries start popping up, my knees, my shoulders, my back, it really felt like, oh, this isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And through seeing you, you changed my life. So I want to thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all you've done for me. It's a great chiropractor. If you have any issues with your back, your knees, your shoulders, whatever it is, come see Dave.
Thank you. Well, Scott, I want to thank you for doing what you're doing. You're getting out there. You're making this something that is needed. You're putting your heart, your soul into this, and it's people like yourself who motivate and inspire me to continue doing what I'm doing.
I appreciate that.
So thank you for this, and I hope to come on again in the future, and we'll talk some more.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Cool, man.
All right, have a good one.